All right, welcome back, and thanks for tuning in to Paying for Attention, a podcast dedicated towards providing solutions for your deepest and heaviest questions regarding paid media. I am Daniel Danneberg, a creative manager at Megathos, and today we are with our host, Keegan Brown, and co-host, Andrew Hollington. And today we're going to talk about the pros and cons of single keyword ad groups. So let's get started. So, again, we're talking about the pros and cons of single keyword ad groups. So, Keegan, what are SKAGs?
Thanks, Dan. So, single keyword ad groups, or SKAGs, are literally what it says is every single keyword gets their own ad group and therefore gets its own set of ads. And everybody has their own perspective on how many ads per ad group, but we usually do either 2 or 3. So that means that every single keyword, own ad group, own set of ads.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So let's talk a little bit about kind of the pros of it then.
Yeah, so I mean the pros, there's a lot of them actually, and it's something that we really feel strongly on setting up for our clients in terms of their campaign structure for, I would say, 9 out of 10 clients. But really the pros are, really the first one is click-through rate. So because you have a unique set of ads for every single keyword, you're able to create very relevant experiences for that searcher's journey. And so when they search a unique keyword, we're giving them an ad that speaks directly to what they were searching for, and single keyword ad groups allows us to do that. So really the first big pro is click-through rate. Andrew?
I think the biggest point on that is relevancy, right? We're always trying to get the most relevant experience for each search query possible, and that's really what SKAGs are all about, right? We're trying to match the intent of the searcher with an ad that speaks directly to that search, right? So totally agree with you on click-through rate. That's what you're going to do to increase click-through rate is show them an ad that speaks directly to what they search, right? The next biggest piece is definitely quality score, and click-through rate plays into that, right?
Yep.
So, when you're looking at factors of quality score, click-through rate, expected click-through rate is one of the biggest ones, right? Landing page relevancy, another big one. Yeah. They both go into it, right? So they play into that factor of relevancy, and increasing that relevancy for each search query is really what SKAGs are all about.
Yeah, and I mean when you increase the quality score, we see it time and time again every time we do this. So yeah, to your point, Andrew, it gets more relevant, and what we typically see is quality score for the first 3-4 months significantly improves at account level, and because of the increased click-through rate and because of the increased quality score, we typically see about a 20% improvement in cost per click just by implementing that structure. And go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to jump in because structure, I think, is really important with this. It's a really, really clean way to structure your campaigns. You can go you click through to the ad group level, and you know exactly what's going on. You label them by match type, right? And that's how we break them out. We break them out by exact match, and previously it was broad match modified. Now it's we're more going towards phrase match, but that's another topic for a future podcast. But you can see the performance at an ad group level and know what keywords are going on from the ad group level. So you can really get your keyword performance from the ad group level or the keyword level. You know exactly where they belong, what's going on, what ad is speaking to them, and things like that.
And that also just makes it easier for negatives as well, right? If you see a search query within an ad group and that search query doesn't match that keyword, then it doesn't belong there. Either you need to add its own keyword if it's a good search query, but it doesn't make sense for that keyword that you're within that ad group, then create a new ad group, new set of ads, and have a unique keyword and ad group for that. Or if it doesn't match it, you should negate it. And actually you need to negate it anyway and then create the other ad group if it's a good one, or you negate it. So it makes the negative keyword research extremely easy and straightforward, because it's either it matches or it doesn't, and that should tell you what you need to do next.
So what do you guys think with perception from a client's point of view with SCAGs? Is there a negative perception towards SCAGs, or is there not? Because it seems like there's like a little kind of underlining myth, or that there's a legend that SCAGs are bad. Is that true?
I would say it depends. I would say, from my experience, any of our clients that have had paid experience sometimes do have a negative connotation when it comes to SCAGs. When we kind of go through that process with a client who has maybe less experience with paid media in general, they seem to really understand the benefits of it. Would you agree, Andrew?
Yeah, I totally agree on that. I think it's once you really show it's tough to get buy-in, right?
Yeah.
Right. There are negative connotations with it, and we'll go into the cons in a little bit, but I think the pros outweigh the cons when we have all these case studies, right? Like Keegan was saying, you get a 20% lift in click-through rate by doing this. I think that's an inherent benefit. The quality score is an inherent benefit. Once they start to see that performance, then it's, kind of the data speaks for itself. So it is tough to get buy-in on the client level, but once you start to see results, it's pretty easy to kind of ease those concerns.
Yeah, true. And really the last one is, and depending on the organization that is implementing SCAGs and their bandwidth that they have with their conversion rate optimization team, is SCAGs really does allow for more landing page optimization. So basically, you can have more unique landing pages for every single keyword. Rather, if you just have one ad group with 15 different keywords, you're sending 15 different audiences, technically speaking, to the same landing page, and we know that those audiences are not going to perform the same way each time. So when you split that up into different ad groups, you're able to actually separate the landing pages for each ad group and control that messaging throughout the entire journey there. And we just see even improved conversion rates on top of the click-through rate and cost per click improvements that we typically see from just the structure itself.
Yeah, it makes total sense. You're not generalizing it, right?
Exactly, yeah.
I think that's a really good point, and I kind of want to touch on that a little bit, because you might say, really, does each of my keywords need its own landing page? That's overkill. That's crazy. Well, think about a simple service like pest control. You have keywords, right, that are pest control, exterminator. Okay, those can go to a general landing page. That's totally fine. What about when someone searches for spider pest control or scorpion pest control? They're looking for a specific service. If your landing page, your ad speaks directly to that, you're just going to get the benefits of speaking directly to their query, getting that improved quality score. Then when they get to the landing page, they know that you're speaking directly to that query that they were specifically looking for, and you're gonna convert it better, just generally.
Yeah. So now we're basically talking about user experience, then, right?
Yep.
Yeah. We're talking about setting up the proper expectations from what they see in the ad to what they receive when they get to the landing page, and that's where I think a lot of problems come into hand. At least we've kind of seen is generalized, right?
Yeah.
Or they try to be very specific with their ads, but they wanted to go to one landing page, which then you'll see conversions drop because you're not speaking directly to that audience.
Yeah, and really what SCAGs really do on top of just the landing pages is provide a good searcher experience from the search that they put in to the ad that they see to the landing page that they see, and an analyst experience when you're actually going in and optimizing is looking, if the ad group says this keyword, the keyword should be that, the search query should be that, and the ad copy should be related to that, and the landing page should be related. So it's something that I think just allows for a very controlled environment the entire way through, and I think that's why it benefits the performance, but also that's why Google rewards it, because Google's goal is to make things more relevant to the searcher and give them a better experience throughout their whole process using Google, because if they don't, Google can't make money because people won't use Google anymore. And so when you follow that, it's very straightforward on how to get that done. So
Very cool. Very cool. So now we talked a lot about the pros and a lot about the pros. So let's talk about the cons. What are some situations where, hey, this might not work? What do you think, Keegan?
The first thing that most clients ask us, and I think a lot of more inexperienced analysts run into, is that it does take longer to implement. Because you're building out unique ads and unique ad groups for each keyword, it just makes that process take more time. It does. And we know that, and we try to set those expectations with our clients, as we jump into the relationship with them, is because it does take longer, but it's totally worth it. So I think the first thing is it does take more time to do, and that can get a little complex.
So jumping in before you answer, is that a budget concern, would you think, with clients? Is that they're saying like, oh, it's going to take more time, it's going to take a lot more money? Do you think?
I think from my perspective, is when somebody is about to get a new campaign started with us or with anybody really, they're excited. They want to get things started tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And so it's more of just
right away.
They don't want the delay, so they're always kind of like, well, is this going to take 2 days or 3 weeks or 6 months? Like, what is this going to take? Because they're just excited, I think, for the most part. And they're ready to see the benefits.
You actually took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, it's the balance, right, of clients are excited to get the campaigns off the ground.
Yeah.
We've obviously sold them on something that they are expecting good results from us, right? And that's what we try and provide here, right? Is those results right away, those quick wins. And it's not a quick win necessarily. It takes time to implement. Yeah. And so it's just the balance of the leveling the excitement with when is the right time to launch these campaigns, when it is done better than perfect. I don't know, but we'll you have to really weigh that in the balance, right?
Yeah. That makes total sense. So that begs the question. I mean, is there more cons to it? Is it? I mean, what is there to it?
I mean, I think the other con is really because you're just duplicating the amount of ads and ad groups throughout the whole process, or not duplicating, but you're just creating more ad groups than if you had 10 keywords per ad group. There's more opportunities to make a mistake, to lose things, to not set the right bid adjustment or the right ad copy. It opens itself up to more mistakes. If you're not experienced, you don't have a process in place to QA that, really.
Yeah, and what we see all the time from I would say more inexperienced analysts is it requires a checklist, and that's what we've found, is that we really need to create checklists around it, because there are a lot of fail safes with these that you need to remember, right? So one being, we use exact match and phrase match broken out separately. Well, you have to negate the exact match from the phrase match ad group. That's an easy thing to forget.
Yeah, otherwise you're going to have exact match keywords under the phrase match ad groups, and you're going to have the same exact search term in both ad groups, right?
Exactly.
And that's just that kind of just doesn't really meet the expectations of what SCAG should really be and what it should provide for the account.
The other big thing I think we see a lot is that it stretches your campaigns too thin. We're throwing in a lot of phrase match ad groups in there, right? Those are going to pull in a lot of search volume. When you have to be really, really careful with how broad versus how narrow your keyword targeting is. It's especially from the start, especially in limited budgets. You only have 5K and we're trying to hit all of your keywords. You gave us this list of maybe your SEO, you're trying to hit this list of keywords, and we're going after it as well. Well, we have to be careful with how broad that is, right? Because these phrase match keywords are going to be pulling in a lot of different queries underneath them. And what we see a lot of times is that it stretches really, really, really thin, that budget, especially if it's a smaller budget in a competitive industry. We're talking $10 cost per click. That doesn't go very far on a 5K budget, right?
Yep.
Well, it sounds kind of maintenance heavy then. It sounds like you really got to have to watch it. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important with any structure that you set up. Again, SCAGs isn't always going to work for everybody, but
Mhm.
I would say for the majority of accounts, that is probably the best way to do it. But setting things up from the very beginning really eliminates a lot of that maintenance, and it should make the maintenance actually easier than if you didn't have SCAGs, because it's such a controlled environment. And so, again, as Andrew pointed out, if you have checklists and a good QA process around setting up SCAGs, then the maintenance should be pretty light afterwards. But if you don't, it can be very, very messy, which I think is, at least when I got started too long ago, the first year or so, I didn't like SCAGs. It just seemed overkill, and it seemed like, how could anyone really manage this? And so
Unnecessary evil.
yeah,
you would
exactly.
say.
Yeah. And so, but then I was kind of forced upon me, and and then I really tested it with some larger budgets, larger campaigns, and saw the benefits, and never looked back. So
Learn the ways of SCAGs.
yeah,
I'm glad you hit on the ongoing process, though. I think that's a big thing with SCAGs, is that, as with anything in paid, as we know, it's an ongoing process. It gives us more opportunities for optimization.
Yeah.
I think a big secret, I'll give you guys a piece of secret sauce, is having an, don't overdo it, you know? You can think of like this model number, and having a different ad group for each of those. No, that is what we would say is overkill. And what we do for that is we set up an open ad group, is what we call it.
Yep.
Kind of a air quotes open ad group.
Yeah.
And so that's more of just like, phrase match that are pulling in like, this product model X, and the phrase will pick up all of the model numbers, and then what you can do is you can go in there and mine the search term data.
Yep.
Is there significant search volume for a certain model? Sure. Okay. Awesome. Then now we know we need to put that into its own SCAG, and that's the ongoing maintenance of it. Is put it into its own SCAG, maybe even make its own landing page. Right. So it's that ongoing optimization, as with anything in paid media.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, gosh, this is a lot to take in and digest because you guys have gotten some really great details about this. So we've talked about the pros.
Yep.
We've talked about the cons. Pros definitely look like they're outweighing the cons for sure.
Yeah.
So what about some takeaways? What are some key takeaways you guys would say like that we can give?
So first, I think Andrew hit on it earlier, is making sure you have checklists and a QA process when getting this set up. Because if you set it up incorrectly, it's going to be very painful to manage. And so if you get that set up correctly in the beginning, the maintenance is actually relatively easy and very straightforward for any analyst. So make sure you have some experienced analysts in there and creating a checklist and going through a QA process before actually launching.
I think that's a really good point. It's time intensive process, so you really have to hone up on your spreadsheet skills. Honestly, there's some quick formulas that we use all the time that we teach our analysts from day one.
Yeah.
It's really, really important to know concatenate, for one. There's shortcuts that make it not as daunting as it seems.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's what we teach our analysts, and that's what we use on a daily basis, really.
Concatenation is my favorite Excel formula.
It's fun.
Really? Excel
I
nerds.
throw a party every time.
We love
I
it.
get
It's a fun one.
Yeah, well, we are definitely Excel nerds here at Megathos, but these are great. This is great takeaways.
A couple more, really, as Andrew mentioned, the open ad group. It's something that we didn't do in the very beginning as we got started using SCAGs, and as we got more familiar and more experience using them over the last several years, we realized that we kind of needed this ad group that allowed for us to capture a little bit more, a wider net, but keep it in a controlled environment in one ad group. We know what it's called. We label it differently than everything else. That way we can go in, mine that data, and decide on which queries to negate and which queries to add as their own ad groups and build new ads around.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, we have quite a lot to digest here with all this information. You guys have been awesome. You guys have definitely provided a lot of information about single keyword ad groups, and we're looking forward to the next show.
Yeah.
And we thank everybody for tuning in.
Thanks.